Klosterneubourg is another town in Austria bordering the Danube River. Situated just north from Vienna, only around 20 minutes by car from the capital, it combines the tranquility of a small town with the amenities of the big city. And because of its proximity, not having enough time that day for a more distant trip, I went to take a look at it. Moreover, there is also an abbey there, the Stift Klosterneubourg, and I wanted to compare it to the one in Melk. The history of the abbey goes back to the beginning of the 12th century, when the Margrave Leopold III built in this area his castle as his residence. There is a legend that one day, while standing on a balcony with his wife Agnes von Weiblingen, her veil was carried away by a strong wind. The area was searched, but the veil was not found. Years later, Leopold was out hunting when he became attracted by a brilliant radiance coming from the foliage of an elder bush. The source of the light was the undamaged veil, entangled in the foliage. The legend tells that from the light emerged a vision of the Virgin Mary, who directed Leopold to build a church and a monastery in her honor at that location. Anyway, in 1113, Leopold III laid the foundation of a monumental church that was converted in 1133 into an Augustinian monastery, while the cathedral dedicated to the Nativity of Mary was consecrated in 1136. The premises of the abbey are large enough, with multiple inside courts, and here you can see the fountain with the statue of Leopold III. The abbey, as part of Klosterneubourg, is built on the steep of a small hill on the flanks of the Danube River, and I found that these stairs led to one of the Monasterial Gardens, as this one, where are exposed what I think are some old tools needed for the production of wine. As it could have been expected, the entire region of Wachau is renowned for the production of wine for centuries, and even the abbey has its own cellar. Unfortunately, the cellar was closed for visitors, as you can imagine. Otherwise, this video would have turned out very funny. And there is an exit from the garden through which you can reach the lower part of the town. I can just imagine how green it will be in the spring and summer. Here is the cloister seen from below with the spired towers of the cathedral, where is a square with the railway station of Klosterneubourg, and where you can find also some shops and cafes as a cozy bakery. Now, back to the monastery and to the square in front of it, because until now I wandered through the monasterial premises closely surrounding the cathedral itself, but I would like also to show you the majestic front part of the facade of this Augustinian abbey. But before that, on the square, you can see this column known as the High Gothic Light Column or the Cemetery Column, the upper part of which is hollow as a lighthouse. It was a donation by some citizen called Michael Tutz and erected in 1381 in the Back-Then Cemetery in memoriam of those who died from the plague that swept through these lands in the 14th century. Later, the column was moved to this square. But here is the official part of the abbey. From 1634 on, the Habsburg rulers had the facilities reconstructed in the Baroque style, starting with the cathedral, while the impressive monastery complex was mostly reconstructed between 1730 and 1834. Through these stairs you can go down to the front gardens of the abbey and admire the solemn facade of the abbey at its main entrance. From here, you have also a great view over the Danube River. I found that the town itself also have a long history. Archaeologists have found settlements from the Neolithic period and then remnants from an ancient Roman fort which existed as an outpost of the Roman Empire for the entire time from the 1st up till the 5th century. It was mentioned for the first time in a document from 1108 as Nieuwenburg, which means literally Neuburg, Newcastle, and became a relatively important site in 1113, when, as I mentioned earlier, Margrave Leopold III built here his residence. Later, in 1683, the town withstood a siege from the Ottoman troops. In the beginning of the 19th century, was occupied for several years by Napoleon. Then, in 1938, with several other towns, became a district of Vienna until 1954, when it regained his status of an independent town. Besides the monastery, you can find here the Klosterneubourg castle, which also has undergone various architectural changes over the centuries and today serves as a cultural and historical museum. And if you're not fond so much in history, you can enjoy many restaurants and wineries in the town that offers a variety of quality wines from the local vineyards like Grüne Veltliner and Riesling. I find it difficult to tell which one of the two abbeys is bigger and more beautiful, so what do you think? Is it the one in Melk you already saw in a previous video, or this one, the Klosterneubourg Abbey?